So what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about permutation. It's just a different way, another type of probability. We still talk of probability, different ways of doing things, or how many ways, how many possible ways. It's the way that we make some predictions of what may happen, right? So for today, we're gonna look at permutation and combinations. But for today, we only look at permutation, the basic permutation, and then tomorrow we will get to look at word problems a little bit harder. But we're gonna start with permutations, probability, all right? So for probability, permutation, if you have any question, make sure that you just put in the chat or let me know so we can check in. Okay, permutation. It's a probability when it's about we're gonna arrange things in order. So the definition would be it is an order arrangement of objects. So we have objects. It can be people, it can be items that we looked at, and the number of different permutations of an distinct object is n factorial. So this would be a new symbol for you, okay? If you look at this one, this n factorial. This exclamation point is called factorial. What does that mean is that if you have a number, if I'm telling you take factorial of that number, meaning you take that number and keep multiply for the number less than that until all the way until 1. So for example, if I have this number, if I want 3 factorials, meaning I'm taking 3, multiply for the next number all the way until 1. So that means 3 times 2 times 1. Okay. So when you do this, basically we just multiply all of those numbers together. So 3 times 2 times 1, which gives you 6. That's what factorial means. Or for example, if I do 5 factorial, meaning 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So basically you just multiply those numbers together. So you put in your calculator, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60, so on 60 times 2, which is 120. Okay, if you do another number, if you do 10 factorial, meaning 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 2 times 1, which would give you a value. So what we need to do, you just go ahead and multiply all of them together, and that will give you a big number, 3628. Somebody just joined, okay. 3628 and 800. So that's a big number. So here's the thing. What if you have to do like 50 factorial? I'm not going to sit here and type all the numbers in, right? I'm giving you the idea of factorial means that's how you get the value. But we can use a calculator to do this, which is going to be a bit faster, okay? So for today, since I assume, I'm going to make the assumption that you all have your cell phone. And for those who have your calculator, graphing calculator, you can follow along and use the graphing calculator. So I'm going to show you 2 ways. If you don't have a graphing calculator, then I'm going to show you the cell phone. But for this class, I know that most of you have that graphing calculator. So would you mind to grab the calculator, and then I'm going to show you how to put this in. So you can use the graphing calculator. And then for the one who don't have a graphing calculator, I'm going to show you using your cell phone. So right now, let's start with the graphing calculator. Okay, if you have your graphing calculator, I will wait. But I want you to go ahead and graph that because we don't want to multiply all of these numbers out. It's too, tutorial means you're going to multiply them out, okay? Yes, so I'll wait. Go ahead and go graph that calculator. I'm going to change the screen so you can see the graphing calculator. So yes, if you have a graphing calculator, go grab it. I'll wait. I'll give you a minute or two to do it. In the meantime, let me change the screen. So I'm going to share this. Okay, this is the graphing calculator. You don't have a graphing calculator, that is fine. We can use without. Okay, so here what we're going to do. So let's try, and we're going to follow along, so make sure that you get the right number. So let's say if I want to do 12 factorial. Okay, so what you want to do in your calculator, you want to type it in, 12. With me so far. I mean, make sure you turn it on. Are we good? Anyone need me to wait for you? Then let me know. Okay. So 12, what I would do, look in this calculator and you see where I say math. The first column, the button say math. Click on that one. Okay. Then this is the screen. You're going to see. Now, the one that we are working right now is probability. So you're going to use the right arrow. Moved all the way where I say probability. So looking where I highlight, see it start to darken. I keep moving to the right until I highlight where I say probability. Okay. So right here, you look on the screen, you see it say probability. That's what you want to highlight. Now look in the option. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. You want this option 4. That is the factorial. So here's the option. You can either click on number 4 or you press the arrow to that option and then press enter. Either way, okay? So if you want to, you can use the arrow to go down and get to number 4 and then press enter. So now you have 12 factorial. Then you can press enter again. That will give you that big number. Let me know if that's working for you. If you got the same number or you got something else. So here's the step again. You type in the values, 12, hit where it say math, highlight where it say probability, right? You can use the arrow or you can just go ahead and type in number 4 because that's the option that we want, the factorial. Then we can press enter. That will give you the number. Are we okay? Make sure that you be able to use this because it will be much faster when we do practice. Otherwise, if you chose to ignore me right now and you have a graphing calculator and you chose to ignore me right now and not follow, it's gonna be a problem. It's probably gonna take you a while to do it. Okay. Also, just for those who just joined the class, make sure you join Paradex. There is a link in the chat. Click on the link, join, because I will use the roster to take attendance later. Okay. All right. I'm gonna try a different number. Let's say do 9 factorial. Same thing. I'm clicking 9, math. I'm gonna highlight where I say probability, right? Option number 4. Press enter, and that's the number that I got. Try that. See you got the same. Okay. That is for the graphing calculator. Now, if you don't have a graphing calculator, okay, if you just have your cell phone, it will work as well. It will be okay. So now, for those who have the cell phone, you don't have a graphing calculator, I'm going to show you. I want to make the screen bigger so that I can see the screen myself. Okay, if you have a phone, that's what you would do. Same thing. But when you turn on your calculator, make sure you turn your cell phone sideways. Then you're going to see this whole thing. Okay, there's a bunch of items in here that you're going to follow. Okay, so again, we're going to start with 12. So if you want to do 12 factorial, the first thing you do, type in 12. Just type in 12. I know it looks backward when I show you the screen. Then on this column right here, okay, if you count this column on this side where I pointed right here, the one that's next to the bottom where you see the X with factorial, X with the exclamation point, that is the one that you want. So you're going to click on that one. That will give you the number as well. Okay. Or you can try the one that we just did, number 9. You can click on 9 and look for that button on your cell phone. It should be in this column, the very first column right here where I'm trying to show you. I know it's a bit hard. Next to the last one, press that one. Also give you the values. Okay. So I'm going to type that in the chat for you. On your cell phone, you type in the number. Type in the number. Let's say number 9. And then you type in the X factorial. You can find that button in the first column. Try that. So now we have not do any probability yet, but I just want to show you how to use technology to do those numbers, because what if you're going to do 120 factorial? You're not going to sit here and do 120 times 119 times 118. You're not going to type in all of those numbers, okay? But you want to be able to understand the factorial means and multiply those numbers all the way until 1. Okay, question for me so far. Are we okay? Good. Because I want to go back to the lesson if you are ready. Okay. So for product, okay, that is a definition. Permutation. So we on the next screen. So I'm back to product. If you want me to do more example, like help you, but you can also go back and look at the video that I'm sharing with you as well. So permutation, this is a formula. I'm going to ask you to jot it down on a piece of paper because you won't have access to it because this paradox is controlled by me. So make sure that you jot this down and you can use it, all right? Edwin, make sure you click on the link. There is the code for you to join paradox. I'm taking attendance using paradox, so make sure you do that. Okay. So the permutation, that is mean if you have a total of n objects, but you're not going to take, you may not take all of them. You may take part of it. So n means the total of items. This one is how many you take. You take in at a time. So for example, for this class right now, I'm having 16 students. Yes, let me give you the PDF link in 1 second. If it's not showing. Okay, the link is in the chat just in case you lost it, right? So this is the total. Let's say I have 17 students and I want to see how many arrangements can I make if I'm taking about 5 students at a time. That's permutation is about. I can take all of them. I don't have to take all of them. So n is the total. The r is how many that I'm taking at a time. So this is the formula we're going to use. We have n objects. We can use a permutation. We want to see how many ways that we can arrange certain number of people or items. So that is how we read it. N is the total, R is how many we'll take at a time. And this is a formula that I want you to jot it down. It's going to be n factorial over n minus r factorial. So we're going to use this. So make sure you jot this down on a piece of paper right now, or take a picture. Use your cell phone. You have something. If this faster for you, take a picture. Do so. We're going to use this one to do the next practice. All right. Well, you need a moment to jot it down. Do so. N factorial divide n minus r factorial. We good? All right, so let's do some basic permutation. This means, again, we're going to use the formula n factorial. This is the one that we're going to use. N. So in here, we're going to identify a couple of things. The 7 is the n values. The second value is the r. Okay. So the rule that we have is n factorial over n minus r factorial. So let's jot it down. Let's write down the number that we have. N is 7, so I'm going to put 7 factorial over n minus r, which is, we know n is 7, r is 6 factorial. So right now I'm going to show you step by step, and it seemed like a lot, but once we got through this, it's not that bad. Okay, just follow along. So that means I have 7 factorial over 1 factorial. Here is the option for you. What you can do, and it's up to you, but this is what it looks like. I'm showing it to you, but you don't have to do this way because I think it's much longer to do it this way. So what that means, 7 factorial means 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? 1 factorial means 1. There's no number smaller than 1, so we stop right there. We can cancel out the common values. And now what we have is 7. We can do 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, which would give you 5, 0, 4, 0. We can do that. Okay, that is meaning you're going to write out every single number. You don't have to. What you can do, when you get to this step right here, just use your calculator. Put in your calculator. Do 7 factorial and see what that gave you. Okay, so if you do 7 factorial, it actually gives you 5. It gives you 5, 0, 4, 0. 1 factorial is 1. Now you can divide those two, which give you the same thing. 4, 4, 0, which is give you the same thing as this one right here. Okay, so your option is you can do factorial and divide by factorial, which is fine. Or you can write it out if you want to, but I'm not going to advise you to write it out if we got into big numbers. Doesn't make any sense. So let's do factorial. You can use your cell phone as well. We can write out the number, and then we can do that one. Okay. All right, so let's look at number 3. We can try this one. Meaning, again, it's n is the first one, r is the second number, right? So n is 7 factorial, n minus r factorial. So that means 7 factorial over 7 minus 3 give me 4 factorial. Again, like I said, Your option is you can write it out. 7 times 5 times 4. Sorry, I missed a number. 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So 4 factorial means 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. The option is I can cancel out the common values. So now I end up with 7 times 6 times 5. That will give me a value. So you can multiply 7 times 6 times 5. Give me 210, right? That's one option. Or when I take this number right here, I can do 7 factorial, which I know give me 5040. Divide, I'm going to do 4 factorial, which is 24. Now I can divide those two together, and that should give me 210 as well. So that, regardless of which method you are using, is going to give you the same thing. Which one I refer for me? I would do factorial and divide the two numbers because I don't want to list out all the number. It's getting much bigger than, what if I have like 100? I'm not going to list all of them out. Okay. Questions? Let's do another example. One more. Okay. All right. So because I kind of write big and I ran out of space, so I'm going to clear the screen. So I'm going to ask you to, like, if you want to take a picture, do so. If you need to copy this down, do it, because I'm going to clear the screen so I can do number 2. Okay. So let's look at number 2. Again, the first, is it possible that R and N is the same thing? Yes. You want to take the whole, all of the objects, you may. There's nothing wrong with that. So this can be N, this is R, right? So N factorial over N minus R, so that's 7 over 0. Okay, 7 factorial, we just did it for the last problem, so I know. Now, the 0 factorial is not 0. Be very careful, and this is the one that you're most likely going to make mistake on your practice or your summative. 0 factorial is actually 1. Yes, it is confusing. But if you put in your calculator 0 factorial, this is a special numbers, okay? 0 factorial means 1. So if you divide, it's going to be 504. You can do another one. This is N, this is R, right? So we can do 8 factorial over 8 minus 4 factorial. So this is 8 over 4 factorial. If you, in a minute, I'm going to show you, if you have a graphing calculator and you want to type in everything in at once, you may. I'm going to show that to you in a minute, okay? So when you do this, again, 8 factorial, if you use your calculator, it's going to give you 40320 over 4 factorial, which we just learned is 24. So if I divide those two, 40320 divided by 24, give me 1680. If you want to write out like this, 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4, 3, 2, 1. So 4 is 4 times 3, 2, 1. Cross out the common term. And now you just multiply what you have left, which is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 is okay, if that's what you refer. All right, I'm going to quickly show you, if you want to type in everything, like I'm going to look at this problem, a factorial divided by 4 factorial. I'm going to show you how to type it in the graphing calculator if you want to type in everything in there. So if you have the fancy calculator, you can do the fraction, which is can do alpha. If you look in here, say alpha and y equal, first option, you can press enter and that gives you the fraction. So I'm going to show this to the one who have a nice graphing calculator. Again, I'm going to show you the step again, alpha, which is the green button. And then you click on y equal to. So I'm going to clear this, alpha, y equal to. It's going to pop up a bunch, but you want option 1, press enter. So here what you can do, you can type in the value 8, math, remember, and then use the right arrow to go with the probability, option number 4. Then press the arrow to go to the bottom for math. This way, everything is typed in. Clear, sorry. For math probability, highlight that, option number 4. Then I can press enter, which gives me 1680. If you don't have this fancy calculator, here's what you can do. You're going to put in the parentheses 8, math, you can do the same. Probability, option 4, right? Close, parentheses, and then divide 4, math, probability, option 4. Gives you the same thing. Questions? Okay, no? All right then, what I need you to do, we're gonna do practice, and I have 4 problems for you to work on. And I will give you credit for doing that. So right now, if you go back to product, okay, you're gonna do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Go ahead and start with that. This is when I'm not giving you, I'm just giving you a bunch of letters. And I'm not going to tell you what is R and what is N. And you're gonna figure that out, all right? So here is the example that we're gonna look at. I will turn on the student page at the end of the class. If you have not done with that slide, I will turn it back on. You can go back and finish it if you didn't finish, all right? So don't worry if you're not done. The one who are done, you are done with that slide. I will go back and give you credit. If you're not done, I'll turn on the student page and then you can go back and finish that slide in a minute, okay? So arranged letter. This is the next one that we're gonna work on for today, all right? So if you look at the list that I'm giving you, I have the total number is n. So n is how many letters that you have. So n is the total. So in this case, if you look in here, look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7, n is 7. Okay. R, for this one, we're not talking about R. We will talk about how many different items that we have in here. So different or distinct letters. So in here, we can look, we have letter A. We have 4 letter A. We have 2 letter B. And 1 letter C. So to find the permutation for this one, what you're going to do if you look at my example, the top going to be n factorial over, depend on how many different letters that I have, then I'm going to have those many number on the bottom. So in here, I have 1, 2, 3, right? So the n, I'm going to clear this one. So in here, my n is 7. So instead of n minus r, because in this case, I have so many different letters, I'm not just going to take 7 minus 4. I'm not going to take 7 minus 2. I'm not going to take 7 minus 1. What I would do, I would just look at how many letters for each, how many numbers I have for each, and that's I'm going to use factorial for that one. So that's going to be 4 factorial for A. For B's, I have 2, so that's going to be 2 factorial. C, I have 1, so that's going to be 1 factorial. So you can put this on your calculator. All right. When you do this, this is a part, if you don't have that fancy calculator, you can put everything on the bottom in parentheses. If you put everything in, that would give you 105. So I know we have a couple minutes. So I'm going to quickly show you my calculator. Where's my calculator? Okay. And this is how I would type it in if I don't have that fancy calculator. I'm going to use 7 math factorial. I'm going to divide. Okay, all of the numbers in the bottom should be in parentheses together. Otherwise, the calculator would not give you the right number. So you're going to do this math probability, or you can use that decimal. Okay, 4, 2, probability, option 4, and then 1, option 4, close it. Okay, that gives you 105. So I'll leave this on for you. So that's how you can put in your calculator. Again, how do we know which one? That's how we do that. Okay, so you can use your calculator. We'll finish up this one, but I want to do one more, and then I will dismiss you. Just bear with me, just another 2 minutes, okay? So in here, I'm going to talk about n. N is a total. How many letters do I have? So I'm counting for this one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know n is 8, okay? Sorry, I didn't realize so for this screen, if you go back to Paradox Thinking, I have 8 letters, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at all the letters in here and figure out how many of each. So if I look for T, there's only one T. So what I'm going to do right now, this is how I'm going to set up. I know 8 factorial. Now the bottom is dependent on the letter for T. I have 1 T, so that's 1 factorial. Now I'm looking for the H. There's only one H. For I have 2 I, so that's why I'm going to have 2, right? N, I have 2 N, so that's why I have another 2. K, I have 1. G, I have 1. So that's how I would set it up. And then you can put in the calculator, and this will give us a number, okay? So I'll write down the number. If you put it in, the answer is going to be 10,080. So go ahead and practice that on your calculator. Make sure you get that number. If you don't, let me know. It is 10. We have 5 minutes, right? Third period and it's 55. So we're about 5 minutes. So here's some. I would like to do one more problem, and then I'm going to ask you to try the other two. just so that you can do that as on your practice, and then we can check in tomorrow. Okay. So here, when you type it in, if you have 1 factorial, you don't even have to type in because 1 factorial just give you 1. If you want to, we can ignore those. We can only focus on 2 factorial if you wanted to. We can just focus on those, right? So again, let's do one more. I know n is a total, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know n is 7, so that's 7 factorial, right? Okay, if I'm looking here, I can list them out, but when you type into your calculator, we can just ignore the 1 because 1 factorial is just 1. You divide by 1, not going to change anything. So we may ignore that later, but for now, we're just going to list out what we have. B, there's 1b, so 1 factorial. L, there's 1L. O, I have 1, 2O, so I'm going to have 2. So this is B, this is L, that is O. For the F, I have 2F, so that's why I have 2 factorial. M, because if you already count the O, you don't count it again, right? So now I'm going to get to M, which is 1M. Again, like I said, we can ignore the 1, and we can only focus on these 2. And you can type it in your calculator, so that's 7 factorial over 2. And then that will give you the answer. You want to use decimal for it, do so. Put in parentheses. If you're going to type in your calculator, put the denominator in parentheses. Otherwise, the calculator will give you something else. So if you typed it in correctly for this one, you should have 1,260. Okay. All right. So we have about 2 minutes, and I know some of you in the last 2 minutes I'm not doing anything, but I'm going to ask you to try 11 and 12. Just give it a try. I want to check in to see how you do. If it's wrong, that is fine, but I'm going to check in for this one. And the last slide, if you have not finished, okay, that will count. I will enter in gray. Alex, that's okay. I figure that was the case. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on student pace. So you can do this one, okay? So do 11 and 12. If you're done with 11 and 12, I will dismiss you. I know it's 2 minutes, won't make a whole lot of difference, but you are done. I will dismiss you, okay? If you are not done, I'm turning on student pace right now. So make sure that you are going back and do the other problems if you didn't do it, okay? 5, 6, 7, 8. So now your problem you're going to do is 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, and 12.